Okay, with quiz 5, you have to find a common denominator and clear your fractions. So the common denominator between 3m squared, 6m squared, and 6m is 6m squared. So I'm going to take and I'm going to multiply everything by 6m squared. When I do the first one, the m squareds can cancel out, and 6 over 3 becomes 2. 2 times 5 leaves me with 10. When I do the second one by 6m squared, the 6m squareds cancel out and I'm left with my m minus 4. When I multiply the third one by 6m squared, the 6's cancel out. One of the m's cancels out, so I've got 5 times m, which is 5m. The 10 minus 4 gives me 6, so 6 plus m equals 5m. Subtract m from each side. 6 equals 4m. Divide by 4. And m equals 1 1/2. If I slide over to the second one, my common denominator is going to be 5n squared. So if I multiply this by 5n squared, one of the n's will cancel out, and 5n times 1 gives me 5n. When I multiply the second one by 5n squared, the 5's cancel out, and one of the n's cancel out, so 1 times n gives me n. And when I multiply the last one by 5n squared, the 5n squareds cancel out. I'm left with n plus 1. 5n plus n gives me 6n equals n plus 1. I'm going to subtract an n from each side, which leaves me with, I'm going to come over here, 5n equaling 1. Divide by 5 on each side, and n equals 1/5. Coming over here to question 5, the first thing I want to do is I want to put all of the denominators into factored form to make it easiest. So instead of this, I'm going to pull out a p, and it would be p minus 2 in parentheses. This one I'll pull out a 3, and it'd be p minus 2 in parentheses. This one I'll pull out a 3p, and I'll pull out a p minus 2 in parentheses. So if I'm looking at all of these, my common denominator is going to be this one over here. This one has the most parts. So I'm going to multiply my first fraction by 3p times p minus 2. And the p cancels out with this p. The p minus 2 cancels out here. So essentially I'm doing 3 times 3p and 3 times 24. 3 times 3p is going to give me 9p, plus 3 times 24 gives me 72. I have to keep sliding across as I go. When I multiply the second one by our common denominator of 3p times p minus 2, the 3's cancel out, the p minus 2's cancel out, so essentially I'm doing 1 times p, which is going to give me p. Bring over my equals. When I multiply the last one by our common denominator, they cancel out. And I'm left with 5p minus 1. We'll combine like terms. 10p plus 72 equals 5p minus 1. So I'm going to subtract 5p from each side. 5p plus 72 equals a negative 1. We'll take away 72 from each side. 5p equals negative 73, and divide by 5. Our answer is going to be negative 73 over 5. Moving over here, again, you're going to want to make sure that you factor the denominator. So this would be 4 parentheses n plus 7. So if we're looking, our common denominator is going to be the 4 times 4, or times the n plus 7. So if I multiply this one times 4, n plus 7, the denominator cancels out, and we're left with n minus 6. If I multiply this 1 times 4, parentheses n plus 7, the n plus 7's cancel out, and 1 times 4 gives us 4. If I multiply this one by the 4 parentheses n plus 7, the n plus 7's cancel out, and I'm distributing this 4. So I've got 4n minus 20. 4 minus 20 gives me my negative 16 plus 4n, bring down the rest. I'm going to add 16 to each side. So n plus 10 equals 4n. Subtract an n from each side. 10 equals 3n. Divide by 3, and n equals 3 1/3. When you move on to the last one, it's important that you put the denominators into factored form. This one would be two numbers that multiply to give us 8 but add to give us 6. That would be 4 and 2. And this one would be the same. So that's going to be our common denominator. When I multiply this one by our common denominator, it cancels. So we're left with n squared plus 3n. When I multiply this one by our common denominator, the n plus 2's cancel out, and we're left with 1 times n plus 4, which is n plus 4. And if I multiply by my common denominator here, the top will cancel out, so we're left with 1. Now, since we have an n squared, we want to make sure we have two solutions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine my like terms. N squared plus 4n plus 4 equals 1. In order to get solutions, we have to set it equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 1 from each side. N squared plus 4n plus 3 equals 0. Two numbers that multiply to give us 3 but add to give us 4 would be 3 and 1. So I'm going to set each term equal to 0 to get my solutions. N plus 3 could equal 0, or n plus 1 could equal 0. So n could equal negative 3, or n could equal negative 1. Those are our two solutions.